Jones, get your together. I'm waiting for you.
Who the fuck is that guy?
DC.
Back to another episode of UFC Talk The Talk. As always, I'm the dog, one half of the Buck and the Dog YouTube channel, and today we're going to talk about UFC Fight Night Sergio Pettis versus Brandon Moreno. But before we talk about any of the fights, I have to say, Todd Grisham.
You absolutely suck.
He may not be the worst commentator, but I do not like him. I think he is terrible. I think he needs to go. I don't like him on the commentary team. That's just my opinion. A lot of people would agree, but whatever. I don't like him. Get him out. Now, back to the main event, Sergio Pettis and Brandon Moreno. The first round was all Moreno. Got a takedown, and he had ground control for practically the entire round. Sergio Pettis couldn't get up, couldn't do much. Now, Moreno didn't do a whole lot with it either. He just kind of laid there. Not a whole lot of striking. Not really a threat in the ground, but he won the round nonetheless. Now for round 2 to 5, it's all Sergio Pettis. He puts on an amazing striking clinic, much better than Moreno. He has no answers. And Sergio Pettis, his striking may not be at an elite level yet, but it was much better than Moreno's. So he gets an easy decision win, a dominating victory really. He was threatened with takedowns a few other times throughout the fight, but again, Moreno did nothing with it. So now the surprising co-main event, two females, Ronda Marcos versus Alexa Grasso, was much better than I thought. I feel female fights are pretty boring usually, and they always go to a decision most of the time. So this fight goes to decision, but it wasn't that boring. It was actually pretty exciting sometimes. Good striking, a lot of good combinations from both girls. Alexa Grasso, though, I think she gets the edge in striking. Marcos had some clinching and takedowns. Alexa Grasso comes up with the decision win, which I think is deserved. I thought she won. I didn't think Marcos did quite enough to get it. But again, female fights, not a whole lot to talk about, but it was much better than most. So very good on their part. Now, there were a lot of first-round finishes in this card. I think there were 7 first-round finishes to be exact. Alan Jouban versus Nico Price. It goes for, I think, 2 or 3 minutes. Don't remember. But Nico Price, he catches Alan Jouban in the exchange, and he drops him, gets on top of him, finishes him with a nasty KO. For Nico Price to go out there and put away a fighter like Alan Jouban, very impressive. Alan Jouban likes to strike as well. He has TKOs and knockouts on his resume. So Nico Price, he puts away Jouban, and he remains undefeated. Very good performance by him. First round finish, amazing. Next we have Martin Bravo versus the debut of Humberto Bandeira. It was pretty fast. It doesn't get out of the first round, and kind of boring, feeling each other out a little bit. And Humberto unleashes a devastating head kick where his knee catches Martin Bravo's head flush, and it drops him stiff, and I mean real stiff. His hands are frozen in the air. Gruesome shit. Amazing though. I loved it. Fantastic debut for Humberto. An amazing knockout and another first round finish. Next, the two fighters with probably the biggest names on the entire card. Sam Alvey versus Rashad Evans. I thought the fight would be a little more exciting. It wasn't. It was fairly boring. Rashad Evans shot for a few takedowns, got a few, very hesitating striking. Sam Alvey obviously stuffed some takedowns, and his striking was a little bit better than Rashad Evans, not much. Sam Alvey does come out with a decision win. It was just a really boring fight. There isn't much to say about it. Sam Alvey did a little bit more than Rashad Evans. And for Evans, where does he go from here? I think he should retire. I think he's done. We're not going to see championship Rashad Evans ever again. He's too old. He has 3, maybe 4 fight losing streak now, so he needs to be done. Now for the first fight of the main card, Alejandro Perez versus Andre Sukumta. It was a decent fight. It wasn't boring. It wasn't great. They had really good standing. Andre knocks down Perez a few times. Really good. But there was some wrestling which favored Perez. And the fight was pretty good. It goes all 3 rounds. Perez comes up with the decision. But Andre, he had great striking. I thought maybe he won it. I thought his striking performance, and he had like 3 knockdowns. I thought that would push him in front for a decision win. It didn't. Oh well, what are you going to do? So Perez comes up with a decision win. Now on to the main event of the prelims. To be honest, I didn't think I'd talk about this many fights for this card. The card looked pretty boring with the lackluster fighters, the no-names to say. But these fighters, these no-names, came up with some amazing finishes and amazing fights. So another first-round finish, Bradley Scott versus Jack Hermanson. Starts off, they're doing a few strikes, feeling each other out like usual. But then Jack Hermanson, he ends up on top of them, they're on the ground, and he unleashes devastating ground and pound. He has these elbows that are just pounding Bradley Scott's head in. Absolutely amazing ground and pound, and he ends up getting the TKO victory because of that. So that was a good fight, a first-round finish. Jack Hermanson is looking unstoppable in the UFC. I don't remember him losing yet. So, and those elbows, nasty. Good fight, which leads us to the quickest finish in flyweight history. There's not much to talk about it because it's only 15 seconds long. Dustin Ortiz versus Hector Sandoval. Hector goes out there and he gets caught immediately by Dustin. Drops him for a TKO victory, a knockout really. 15 seconds, extremely fast. Dustin Ortiz proves he has devastating power if you just charge in at him. 15 seconds will do that. It'll prove it. You have the power. So, Dustin Ortiz, amazing. And then the first 2 fights in the prelims, nothing special. I'll just mention them real quick. Henry Briones versus Hani Yahya. I thought it was a pretty boring fight, but Yahya does come up with a very impressive submission victory in the first round. So that's really good. You can't take that away. First round finish is always amazing. And then the very first fight of the prelims, Jose Quinones versus Diego Rivas. To be honest, I don't even remember the fight really. Don't remember anything big happening. Jose ends up with a decision win. So that's great. Fight seemed pretty boring. And as always, the early prelims, they did show them on TV on Fox Sports 1. They had enough time to squeeze in both early prelims fights. But I'm not really going to talk about them. I don't talk about early prelims. They were both finishes by submission, so they weren't bad, but nothing that stood out that makes me want to talk about it. So, other than that, UFC Fight Night Pettis versus Moreno was much better than I thought. It was actually a pretty good card. Very impressive fights, a lot of first-round finishes, and that will wrap up UFC Talk The Talk for today. And as always, you'll hear from me at the next MMA event, which looks like it's going to be Bellator next. UFC has no events in August, so let's see. We'll see if we do one for Bellator. If not, we'll do the next one for UFC, especially for UFC 215, the pay-per-view. There will definitely be a Talk to Talk for that. So I will see you then.
Demolition